And now for another episode of Confessions of an Online Psychic. With your host, novelist, filmmaker, and authentic psychic, Dave Thompson.
Hello, everybody. It is November 1st. It's 6 o'clock Pacific time, and this is another live for the Psychic Treehouse. And I'm probably going to also load this up on my YouTube channel and probably in the Shades of Magic group as well. This is the timestamp. This is when this is going live. And so I've been spending the last couple of minutes on sort of what I call a cool down. I'm cooling down because just so I can get connected and see what's going on in the world, especially when we talk about this goofy virus. And it looks like it looks good. I'm monitoring the comments. I have invited a few people already. So if you could just say hi when I log in or when you show up. I want to make sure everything's looking good here. Ooh, what's going on here? All right, there we go. Yeah. Okay. All right, there's the picture. Good. All right. So, hey, Natasha. Hey, Susie. How you guys doing? Janice is with us now. I have my old system working like it should. There was no last minute issues like last time. And, okay. Hey, Rita. Thank you for joining with us. And right after I do this, I'm going to finish up the writing that I'm doing for the Lilith. And the pitch that I had planned that I did to Imagine Entertainment that went off without a hitch last week. And I can't tell you just how tough it is to do something in exactly 30 seconds. Well, first off, what do I say in 30 seconds that speaks louder than my sample script and the descriptions? Oh, well. Hey, Patrick. Nice to see you joining with us, too, today. This is going to be an interesting week coming up. Last week, I saw some increases in exposures, increases in the number of people getting sick with COVID, and that seems to be playing out all last week. And so I want to take a look. Is there anything that's happening that we need to pay attention to? One of the issues that I'm looking at now too is a possibility of a still further economic collapse. And two, hey Stacy, there was something interesting happened last week. I was in a chat with a friend of mine, and she was talking about things like what were these creator codes? She was in a group which cost quite a bit of money, and they were having these codes downloaded, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, what are we looking at for codes? And so on a walk, I stopped at a place where I could get fairly decent peace and quiet, and I said, okay, what codes are out there? What's going on? And hello, Sherry. I saw some lines, glowing lines in the sky, and there was like they all went into a nexus. I guess maybe 20 miles or so from where I was sitting, straight to the north. I'm thinking, what is this? And I was told what it is. I think, that's really kind of cool. This is the sort of stuff other people have been paying big money to get, and here I am. I've asked to see them. So there's a lot that happens with this that if you really get in a meditative state, you ask to see it chances are you'll be shown it. You don't have to pay somebody else something like a couple of $1,000s or more to have these codes brought to you. Once I connected to this thing, I was shown 3 different codes that I incorporated into my system. Okay. Yeah. If you have any questions, go ahead and pop those up. I am monitoring the comments section here. Let me see if I can tag a few people. Okay, yeah, I thought she was going to be joining us too. So, all right. Okay. Well, I have to see the live view out of one of mine. If I'm looking at the delay view, it kind of messes me up. Ooh, Mercury goes direct on election day. Pluto and Jupiter in conjunction on the 12th. The window from November 11th through the 13th. That's about, well, obviously 11 days from now. All right. Yeah. Okay. Do we have any idea, Patrick, of what those developments may be? Are they political? Are they economic? Or are they, something else? Hey, Kath. Nice you could join us. This is great. A lot of people today like this. But okay, so let me get zoned in and let's see what's going on. I'm going to look first at the virus, and then I'm going to look at anything else that you guys may want to pop up there and have me look at. Oh, there's one more person I needed to tag. That's who I needed to tag. Ooh, I don't want to hit that red button. Bad things happen when you hit red buttons. When I used to fly airplanes, I'd be in the front in the cockpit, and there was only one switch in the cockpit that had a red knob, and that was the master mixture. And if you pulled that knob all the way out, the engine would turn off. Therefore, it was in red. You weren't allowed to touch it. I could touch it because, I kept the engine balance flying along in those little airplanes. Unfortunately, it's been a long time since I've piloted an airplane, and that all has to do with the fact that it's hard for me to get a medical clearance to fly. Okay, so let's look at the COVID. Okay, wow, I am seeing a unexpected outbreak. Looks like it's on the border between Nevada and Colorado. That's odd. Okay. And again, Nebraska and the Dakotas, I'm seeing some outbreaks up there. I'm seeing some rising cases. Missouri, looks like. There is some. Okay, Long Island. All right. Yeah, let me check up through there. Yeah, Mercury going direct. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at the New York Manhattan area. I know where Long Island is from there. I'm seeing it's not a bright red. It's kind of a pinkish. Nevada. Okay, so yeah, it's not Las Vegas, but it's a little to the east of Las Vegas, one of the larger cities to the east of Las Vegas. There, I'm seeing an outbreak. Okay. Let's see. Let me take it. Let me go up north here. Outbreaks in rural California, towards the north, towards Oregon. Portland's going to see an uptick in cases. Looks like the government in Washington State may have to take some actions. I don't see a lot of shutdowns yet. Yeah, not a lot of shutdowns, just mild cases. I know there are some. Yeah, I saw a story about, I think it was Utah, that they were the hospitals there have got so full they're actually turning people away if you're of a certain age, or if you're obese, or you're really what's that word? I'm right, and I can't come up with words right now. But if you're at risk for death from COVID, they're really not letting you into the hospitals. They're only letting people in that they think they can actually save. So, what's happening with that? All right. Okay. And I'm looking at still making that move from California to New Hampshire. Keeps being delayed, just constantly being delayed. I'm not sure what the spiritual reason for the delay is. I thought at first the delay had to do with that movie I was writing and the pitch that I had to get ready for it. If so, then I did that at the middle of last week, so things should be able to move on. All right. Jerry. Okay. When will he have a vaccine? I'm seeing, and I have for quite a while now, I've been seeing March as some good news regarding a vaccine. I just don't see it widely available till May or June. I do see a lot of people mobilizing to get the vaccine out to people. I'm also seeing people holding signs and they're protesting. I'm going to see freeze it. Okay, some of the signs I'm seeing is that these are people that are untrusting of the vaccine, and they don't think the vaccine is worth it, or for some reason they're protesting against the vaccine for some odd reason. I never could understand that. I know there are people who are against the vaccine because of with what's happening. This year I went and I got a flu shot, and there was a line of people waiting to get. I waited, I guess close to an hour, so I could get my flu shot. Previous to that, I had a flu shot in Austin, but I didn't have one after I came out here, and I'd been last November and last March, I was very, very sick. So I said, hell, I am not about to not get a vaccine this year. Okay. I am picking up that, this is different. This is different. As far as the vaccine goes, I know there's going to be one that's going to need 2 shots about a month apart. And then I'm seeing another one that has 2 shots month apart, and then a 3rd shot several weeks later. It's on a schedule. They're having issues making sure it creates the correct antibodies. Also, I have seen in the news that people have been getting reinfected even though they had antibodies. So this is like the cold, or like the other flu, like the regular flu, the H1N1, is that it's mutating. So they're still working on getting that. Hello, Karen. Nice to see you in it with us. How are you feeling? Just pop it up there. And let's see. I've got 2 feeds going right now, so I'm keeping up. Okay, so I want to look. Now we know the UK is going into a lockdown. France and Germany. There's going to be some outbreaks in Italy, but they're ready for it. Eastern Europe, there's going to be outbreaks in Eastern Europe. We are looking at some horrible outbreaks right after the U.S. Has Thanksgiving, when the Christmas season starts. I'm purposely not looking at what might go down on the 3rd, which in the U.S. is when we're having our elections. It's I think it would be nice to say that this year the election probably is going to be a shitstorm. So I'm not going to look at that. Right, Sherry. It keeps mutating, and that's the problem. All right, Janice, that's also Hold on a second. Speaking of which, okay, long-term effects of being exposed to the virus. Let me look at that. I'm seeing respiratory issues, things like asthma, things like lung damage. Even if you recover, you're still going to have lung damage. I'm seeing some people are some people are reporting like they've almost like they've lost lung capacity, and that's because of permanent damage. We're also looking at the blood clotting. When was it? I'm trying to remember. Was it May? I think May or June, when my brother-in-law had a stroke, and it was some talk between myself and my mom, or maybe the stroke was caused by a clotting issue that's affected by the virus. This virus, what it does is when it attaches to the walls of your veins and your arteries, it triggers a reaction from the artery cells that cause it to release an enzyme that causes clotting. And until we get a handle on that, those people who maybe not even be symptomatic could start having clotting occur, minor strokes, possible heart attacks. Okay. Patrick is talking about another big political scandal coming, but it's not Trump, it's somebody else. Okay, do you feel if this is somebody that is associated with Trump, or is it somebody completely, you're saying it's unexpected and out of left field? All right. Last week the Dodgers won the World Series. My head is still wrapped around baseball. I would have watched football today, except none of the teams I follow are doing any good at all. I didn't think anybody could play as bad as the Dallas Cowboys until I watched the LA Rams playing this afternoon. Okay. All right. Okay. No, this is I thought yesterday I had a virus, but actually it was I'd accidentally taken my evening pills instead of my morning pills, and one of them is something that relaxes me and lets me sleep. So in the middle of the day, all of a sudden I crashed. I have not had any dreams that would be consequences be worldwide. I did have some really weird ones, but that's it. Okay, let me look at go down to Australia. For some reason, I'm not picking up a lot of cases blooming in Asia. China, yeah, they're showing more cases, but they're really cracking down hard. South Korea looks like they got a handle on it. Japan as well. Moving down, I know people in Australia, so let me look at that. I see outbreaks still happening in Sydney. I see outbreaks happening along the western coast, up towards the northern sector of the country. It's big red blotches occurring there. So if this was a map, that's where the outbreaks would be. I don't know if this is a return to what they went through last April and May. It's possible. They had major crackdowns. Patrick was just asked, is the scandal involving someone who is on Trump's team? And he's not sure. Okay. Well, we'll have to watch that. Unfortunately, to abolish the Electoral College, it would be almost to the point where we would have to have an amendment to the Constitution, and it'd be a simple one too. It's just instead of winning so many electoral votes from each state. They just, whoever had the most votes nationwide at the end of the counting, their president. But unfortunately, this is something that's codified in the Constitution itself. And in order to change that with the Constitution, I imagine that there would have to be a constitutional amendment. A constitutional amendment requires 2/3 of the House and the Senate to approve it, and then it is sent to the states, where the legislatures in the states also have to have at least 2/3, and they could hold it up for decades once it gets to the state level. So, okay, Kath Turnbull says, I keep getting the feeling that COVID is the new polio. Very much so. Yes, this is the 21st century version of polio. And instead of striking nerves and causing people not to be able to walk, a good example is Franklin Roosevelt. He had polio as a child or as a young adult, and he was in a wheelchair. And that was one of the best kept secrets the 30s and 40s, is that Roosevelt couldn't walk. But I have a feeling that COVID will evolve, at least our understanding of it, towards like a polio. But the difference is once they had the vaccine for polio, we pretty much wiped it out. And my mother, I don't know if she's joined us yet or not, but my mother talks about when the polio vaccine first came out, and how my great aunt Cleo was a nurse, and she brought home everything you needed to be vaccinated for polio, made sure everybody was vaccinated. That may be what we're going to have to wind up doing with the COVID vaccine. I did read some papers that were published in a couple of journals about what they're looking at with the. Trying to remember where it is. I get all these, all this news, and they were talking about how they're looking for the base codes. Again, talking about codes with the virus, that they can go in and do something with that. And when I talked to my daughter a couple of weeks ago, she mentioned how, and she's working as a vet tech now, but she said somebody on the vet tech team had mentioned how tuberculosis vaccines seem to be showing, they seem to be working against it. So I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure whether that's going to work out. I do know I can't get a tuberculosis vaccine here. I can be tested for it, but I haven't. I don't know if it's available as a vaccine. You might want to check into that. All right. What have I not covered? Okay, so for some. Has anybody heard of anybody getting COVID coming out of the continent of Africa? This is kind of odd. Why is it? I would think we would hear something about that. I haven't heard anything. So let's see. Let's look at what else is happening here. Yeah, as COVID becomes more prevalent, coming up through the Thanksgiving. And the Christmas seasons, I am picking up that the economy is still going to sputter. It's still, we're in serious trouble when it comes to that, from that. So the economy, we're still teetering on the edge of collapse. There has to be something done worldwide. Earlier this week, I was asked by somebody else if I thought, if the U.S. dollar is going to have some issues, and I said, well, the U.S. dollar is that we've been around for so long. It's going to be hard to get rid of the currency that we have now. I don't see Bitcoins and cryptocurrency taking over as much as they would like it to take over. Karen is responding that she's wondering about the continent of Africa too. Earlier, she made a comment that she was feeling good, which is great. though I think think Karen has youth on her side when it comes to this. I was speaking with my mother, and she said it seemed like where they're at, a lot of the fatalities with COVID are the people who are much older, 80s, 90s. And let's see, yeah, I'd like to mention too that got word yesterday that Sean Connery had passed away. That was one of the actors I'd always hoped I would be able to meet, him and Christopher Lee. So I got to find another couple of actors that I'd like to meet now. Well, Patrick Stewart. Yeah, Patrick Stewart, like to meet with him. Jean-Luc Picard. Although I really wasn't a big fan of the Star Trek New Generation as a series, I am a big fan of the reboot, the series that was playing on CBS All Access last year. And I've gotten into Star Trek Discovery. So they finally got some, in my opinion, some good Star Trek stuff going on. All right. If you have any questions, I'd like to see them now. I've only been on the air about 25 minutes, which is not bad. The clock's saying 26 minutes. Close enough. I can tell you how hard that was to make that pitch video at 30 seconds. Oh, yeah. No, Sean Connery died of being about 95 years old or something. I actually haven't released a cause of death, but he, at his age, it could have been just anything that took him out. Janice asks me, will racism decrease in our country? That's the whole problem. Racism is systemic. It doesn't seem to be anymore. It used to be. It was just confined to really what I call the deep South states, but it seems to be everywhere now. I don't know if it's because people from there have been spreading out, or if the lack of education, the lack of just being tolerant of other people. When I was growing up, I was never taught that people were different just because of the color of their skin. That's something I talked, that my mother instilled upon myself and my sister growing up. My stepmother she's very much a racist. We call in Austin, Texas, there was a thread there, what I call genteel racism. They don't outright, well, at least they did while I was younger, they don't outright do racism, but it's very nice and pleasant. They'll say things, know your place and stuff like that. And so that's part of the problem. And one of the issues that I will, my daughter is the same way. I mean, there really is no difference. Yeah, we all bleed red. We all have the same, parts of our, we're all human. It is, it's really, I can understand a friend of mine, he's got several kids, and he was always after his son to not act the way he would do it. He was so angry with him. And this kid was always getting pulled over by the cops because of his color. And his father had zero tolerance for any paraphernalia, anything that would make his son stand out from the background. But, that's something that I never had to deal with while I was raising my daughter. I had other things to deal with, but I didn't have to worry about her being picked on because of her color of her skin. There was another thing too there in Texas, because I and my daughter, we're basically not a-religious, and it was other people would seem to make snap judgments on us based upon our lack of religion. people would say, well, it was God's fault, and I would just go openly, well, which God is it? Which God? Because last time I counted, there's about 12,000 beings that people have over the centuries called God. Which one of them was it that caused this? If it's an active God, I need to know which God. Okay, yeah. Karen says that in her town, we used to have a polite racism, but now people are more up front, and there's Confederate flags everywhere. Yeah. And the thing is, it's. I was also thinking about this too the other day of talking about Six Flags over Texas, and I got to wonder how that would be seen now, because Texas actually had 6 different nations' flags fly over it from the time it was discovered by the Spanish. And one of those flags was a Confederate flag, but it wasn't the Confederate flag people see in places like Mississippi and Alabama. It was a completely different looking flag. And it's a part of the history. But, being a Texan, though I have family that were in the Deep South, my uncle worked for NASA at Redstone Arsenal in Huntsville, Alabama. And so they grew up on that. One of the things that we have to understand, at least from a psychic point of view, is that there's, I want to go back to the energy matrices. I saw what I would call a prosperity matrix. There's also the standard ley lines. Interesting note, there is a town called Salem, New Hampshire. There is a thing there called Mystery Hill that they've rebranded as America's Stonehenge. Interesting enough, several of the stones that line up to show you the solstice or cross-quarter days, when you line them up in Google Earth and draw a line, it intersects the Stonehenge in the UK. And that also draws what we call a ley line. There are these power lines across the globe. They form a matrix of triangles, which you could call it sacred geometry if you want to. And part of that, there is a prosperity matrix, which I tapped into last week, and it kind of messed up my energy. And then there's the energy matrix I saw, which I'm going to label as strife. This is the one which feeds into people's ability to be angry at each other, feeds into the strife, as it were. It's the things that kick off crime, the things that kick off wars, the things that kick off murders and riots. And there are multiple little nexuses. And in my head, when I see a nexus, or it looks like okay, we're going to wait till the dog stops barking. They probably hear me talking. And what it is, they look like a brain cell, a neuron. There's that centerpiece, and it's got all these tendrils coming out, and it's got the main lines that it connects to. So if somebody is born and raised in an area where this strife nexus is, chances are they're going to be exposed to violence. And I have wondered why it seemed like people that are from certain areas that always would have this. What's going on with that? I'm not sure what other energy lines exist, and what other energy lines. I'm not sure what we can do about it. Perhaps we could pump some, like we tried a couple of, in August? I wanted to do a period where everybody meditates and sends gold energy. If you could map the strife energy that's around you and then pump gold energy into it, I think we could do quite a bit to help people. Now, any other questions here? Okay, 32 comments there. Cherry, my grandmother is when she passed away. We didn't know this, but when she passed away, she was a member of the Daughters of the Republic, which is a group of women who can trace their ancestries back to the very early beginnings of the white settlements in Texas, 1830s. The energy line, well, it's not an energy line around Los Angeles so much, Karen. It's like just lines. There's a couple of ley lines that pass through here. There's more of them up in the central coast of California. Mount Shasta is one, and there's these type of energy lines that are also in Sedona, Arizona. But what I have seen here is a prosperity matrix. Hi, Julie. Julie, if you have any questions regarding Australia. Okay, Janice, yeah, I'm getting to that. The deep energy centers in the country. I was I am in my head mapping the prosperity energies that are around me here. I've mapped them around the island of Hawaii for my friend Marina, and she's seen several more. Once she tapped into them, she started seeing them. And I would really like it if I could, if I could show some of you how to look for those energy lines, and then just kind of draw them. Maybe together, all of us, we could start piecing together a map of these energy lines and how we could tap into them better than we have been tapping into them. I do not believe that there is any one person who should call themselves a guardian of the creator codes that come out of these matrices. And yet there are people that do this. There are people that are charging thousands and thousands of dollars to download codes. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. It's not that you don't have the right to make money, obviously, but at the same time, if this is something that other people can be taught to do for themselves, they wouldn't rely upon you. At this point, that is the attitude we get into when start talking about the creation of the first humans on the planet. Jehovah, who assisted in the colonization of the earth with human-style spirits, he wanted everybody to go through him to get everything they wanted. I mean, as a powerful being, Jehovah was more than happy. There's the garden, everything you need is in it. But I was part of, apparently from what I understand, I was part of the group that came down and said, look, folks, you can do this on your own. You can tap into that creation energy on your own. You don't need Jehovah. And then that's when everything all kind of went to shit. So, my one of my main guides, Daniel, I think Colleen or Cheryl, if you're with me, you'll understand. Daniel often refers to himself as one of the fallen. He says, I'm also one of the fallen angels, so to speak. And we're just here to teach people how to do this for yourself. But the deep energy centers in the country. So let's get back to that. We're talking Mount Shasta is one area that's in California. We're talking Sedona, Arizona. There's an area over Missouri. There's an area over, there's a real strong energy center off the coast of Florida near Miami. A lot of people say that's the nexus of the Bermuda Triangle. So we got to be careful with that energy. There's some down in the Chichen Itza area where the asteroid hit 250 some odd million years ago. Yeah, there you go. That's great. Tahunga. Yeah. And where I'm going to be going, I saw several prosperity energy centers over New England, big one over Boston, And there are ley lines there that are coming over from the Middle East and coming over from the pyramids there that feeds it around. There are maps everywhere, but I don't think there's any maps yet of the prosperity energies, and there are certainly no maps of the strife energies, and I'm not sure what other matrices are out there. I'm of two minds when it comes to the creative. Is there a matrix for creativity? If there is, well, there's certainly a big one here in Los Angeles because I've tapped into it. But there's also one over kind of in the hill country over Texas. And then there's, this is creative energy. There's one up in Seattle. There's also one, whatever city that is, that's north of Seattle, Canada. And then it stretches over. There's one around Chicago, but it's not as big as the one over Los Angeles. And there's a big energy center over New York. Okay, that's interesting. Kathy talks about how the theory of fallen angels imprisoned in Antarctica and the energy fluctuations there. One of the things I've been expecting to see coming up as Antarctica starts to thaw out, which may give some issues to people about another 50 years from now. They may start uncovering signs that is perhaps where Atlantis was. Because whatever caused Atlantis to fall did so in such a quick amount of time. And we know that occasionally the earth, the crust of the earth will slip over the mantle. And if the earth is starting to get out of balance because the weight of Antarctica at the bottom plus the sea ice that's there was keeping it fairly stable. But as that is melting away, and from what I know about fallen angels, given my guide Daniel, his communications with me is that we were higher level beings that are now incarnating with everybody else. From that point of view, I don't think I'm any different than any of the rest of you guys. I just have this really weird history. And chances are you guys have the same weird history that I have. You just don't know it, or you haven't been exposed to it. When I first encountered Daniel, I had another guide named Nathan. Nathan was called away to do something else, and Daniel showed up. To give you a good idea who Daniel is, go to the book of Daniel in the Old Testament. That's who Daniel is. That's who my guide is right now. Christmas. Okay. Julia's asking about whether the borders between the U.S. and Australia will open up. And a couple of things need to occur before that happens. One, especially with the people in the U.S., we need to get a control of the virus. They're allowing flights all the time around, but if you are on a U.S. passport, you're going to be turned away by several countries. And she's saying that they may not reopen borders until Christmas of next year. And I'm picking up, that again is tied with the possibility of a vaccine. And they are really working on that vaccine. They're working pretty hard on it. But I'm also very interested in energy fluctuations in Antarctica because that's where I think Atlantis was. But I don't think the Earth didn't have that as the South Pole at that time. I think the Earth, and I know I studied geology in college, among many things. And just imagine the Earth's crust is floating on top of this semi-fluid layer. It's called the mantle, and that if and the crust is constantly slipping apart. There's areas where the crust is going below, and this is being tectonic layers. If you look at a map of the ocean floor, you'll see the mid-Atlantic ridge, and that's where things are pulling apart. The Americas and the European and Africa continents are spreading apart at approximately a quarter inch per month. I think that was the rate. I think it's a quarter inch. I'll have to look it up. But that's, for example, and then you have the Ring of Fire, which is the Pacific plate, and part of California is on the Pacific plate. The other part of California is on the Americas plate, and so the two are kind of going like that. And what's happening then is you get earthquakes along that fault line, the San Andreas, and because of the nature of the way the crust floats, if Antarctica thaws out too much more, that could cause a fluctuation and could cause another slight slippage. There was some stories about in Siberia they've uncovered baby mammoths who had been flash frozen. Oh, why would a mammoth freeze suddenly? Because, I grew up in Texas, and I can tell you there are some days in November and December you get up and it's 75 degrees, the sun is shining, you're in shorts and a t-shirt, flip-flops, you're popping beers because it's really hot, and then here comes a cold front and just drops everything. I mean, the temperature drops from 80 to 55 faster than somebody seeing a highway patrolman on the interstate. But it's quite possible that the Earth's crust has slipped in the past. And if so, I'm thinking that's Antarctica is probably where we will get the evidence of a civilization to the level of Atlantis. And I read some articles by an interview with an archaeologist, a paleontologist, who admitted that there has been cycles and cycles and cycles of civilizations predating ours. There won't be anything left of them. The closest clues we have is the pyramids. And this is something that wrap your mind around this, that the time between us now and Cleopatra's reign in Egypt and Cleopatra and the pyramids, the period between us and Cleopatra is shorter than the period between Cleopatra and the pyramids. So the pyramids go back 7,000 to 8,000 years. Brian Forrester is somebody I follow on media, and he figures that something major happened 12,000 years ago. And you talk to him about that, and that's probably when Atlantis disappeared. All right. I am out of things to talk about. So unless you have some more things to ask me, I'm going to wrap this up. And okay. So I'm getting distracted. My phone's going off. Okay. Thanks for joining me, everybody. This will be archived, and I'll try to share it, download it as well. My class with Lilith is tomorrow. It's a single one-time class, and that is tomorrow. I still have openings in the class, so go to one of the links. It's going to be a long class because I'm going to talk about the mythology of Lilith. I'm going to talk about what Lilith has told me her history is, and then we're going to go over how to contact her, how to work with her, and how to do so completely mentally. All right. Thank you, everybody, and y'all have a good evening. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.